I'm Jeff Davis, taking you on the Wine Road. On today's segment, we're visiting Urban Wineries of San Francisco. The city has a lot to offer, but I wonder if you've considered tasting wine while you're there. Yes, aside from fantastic coffee, craft beer, and cocktail bars, there are wineries and tasting rooms in the Bay Area. Today we'll hear from two wineries on Treasure Island, Winery SF and Treasure Island Wines, and one in the city called Bluxome Street Winery. You may have caught that one on an earlier podcast. Treasure Island once featured an active naval base, but has been closed for quite a while. Most of the barracks and some of the buildings are beat up and worn down, but they would make for an eye-catching backdrop for a fashion shoot and stark black and white photos. Of course, there's a stellar view of San Francisco to the west and the Bay Bridge to the east. I'll start where I did that morning, at Winery SF. They just moved about a block from their previous location and are part of a group called the Winemakers Studios, which includes Soto Marino Winery, Sol Rouge, and V Winery. I met with Mike Miller at Soto Marino, and the tasting rooms are side by side, so it's easy to bounce from one to the other.
Yeah, it's really, as I describe it, it's chill out here, and it's intended to be fun. And it can be chilly, but even on foggy days, it tends to be less windy, so it's really kind of a fun place to come. And there's two bocce courts that are associated with the four tasting rooms out here, and people can go on to our websites and request reservations. And then I'm actually the one who's doing the calendar, so they're booking up anywhere from a week to 3 to 4 weeks in advance. A lot of birthday parties, a lot of people just want to have a good time. There's also a highly active event. It's called SF Event Venues that we do. This week we probably did 4 or 5, 6 different corporate events, small group meetings. And people come play bocce ball, drink some wine, and celebrate their businesses as well.
Yeah, it's a relaxed space, as you mentioned, and over here you have a great view of the Bay Bridge and the bay here. Plenty of trees, though, and yeah, fun place to hang out with your friends for sure. And you have a number of wineries in this group. Tell us the names.
Yeah, so the 4 wineries are the Winery San Francisco, which is the largest of the wineries, 5,000 to 7,000 case production. Sol Rouge, which does some really nice, pretty high-end Rhone varietals. V, similar. Most of the fruit for V comes from Central Coast, Santa Maria Highlands. And then Soto Marino is in the submarine facility here that we're in meeting, and Italian varietals that are from Mendocino County.
As Mike indicated, Soto Marino, which is Italian for submarine, is an old training building constructed like a submarine, with the watertight doors and hatches, ladders, and of course the requisite gray paint. We recorded in one of the rooms, which is why you hear our voices echoing. And just above, surrounding the roof hatch, is a nice open-air space for gatherings and a tasting room.
Yes, did an event this week for a group of 12 upstairs, and they were playing bocce, and we actually did it with the Soto Marino wines as well, and they had a great time. We brought lunch in for them, and I'm seeing we're getting a lot more of that kind of traffic here as people discover that it's really fun out here. The bocce courts are really attractive, and the weather has been so nice that it's been sunny and warm, and people tend to, even on normal weekends, people will either happen upon us or plan to come out here, and they end up staying for several hours and drinking wine and having fun, partying.
You touched upon a wine a little bit, but it is handcrafted, smaller production wines, as you said, and each one offers a different variety. And I think I saw Sol Rouge's Lake County wine.
Yes, there is quite a bit of Lake County wine in Sol Rouge. Actually, they all have a bit of Lake County wines. Brian Kane, the CEO, winemaker, basically the owner, has property up in Lake County, and we love the wines from up there. A lot of volcanic, higher elevation adds to this really nice minerality, I think, in a lot of the wines.
Yeah, we were just there a few weeks ago, as a matter of fact, and did a show out there and really enjoyed everything I tasted. So this is an urban experience, but it is it's farther enough away from the city that it is, like you said, it's chill out here. It's kind of relaxed, but the city is right there. I mean, it's a beautiful view of San Francisco.
And as we like to say, it's San Francisco's wine country here.
The wine island.
Yeah, exactly, the wine island. And it affords amazing, even I'm a native San Franciscan and live down in the peninsula, but there are times when I come out here and I stop and take photos of San Francisco, depending on what the fog looks like, how clear it is, what kind of ship traffic is coming through. And I stopped last week, there was a beautiful cruise liner docked on the Embarcadero, and it looked amazing. So,
after all these years, you're still taking photos.
Yeah, I am, and I'll continue to do it as well because there's always a different look. Like right now over there, it's Pride weekend, and also there's beach volleyball going on. So it's just a fun place to be.
Sure. You used to be in this hangar over here, and you had a large space, 25,000 square feet. They're planning some renovation around here and putting in some high-rise condos.
Yes.
So you had to move out of that space, but the Winery SF is still over here, and you have a new space here, and you're happy with that.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. It's a smaller space, but that really adds kind of to the intimacy of the experience. And whereas before we were in the huge facility, and it afforded some views. Where we are now, we've built a new deck, and we're doing some more improvements to the deck, so it's a really fun place to be outside. And we're facing the new eastern span of the Bay Bridge, so it's a cool feeling. And yes, we always describe the winery as an urban winery because the wine was actually made here on Treasure Island. By the way, people ask me every day, do you guys grow grapes out there? The answer is no. The grapes come from pretty much every appellation in Northern California and some from Central Coast as well.
But I hear the climate allows you to keep your costs down because you can utilize the climate to keep your inventory cool enough.
Absolutely, yeah. It's since we're in the middle of the bay, we tend to get the same effect as San Francisco gets, particularly in the summer when, as you know, the coldest winter I ever experienced was summer in San Francisco. I'm not sure if it's W.C. Fields.
I think Mark Twain gets credit for that, but I think I've even heard he didn't even say that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure either, but I certainly remember it, and having grown up around here, I get it too.
Sure. Well, and you're just one group of several other wineries on the island, so it's definitely something you can come and take advantage of for a few hours one afternoon.
Yeah, you could spend a whole day out here easily. When I first joined up with the group about a year and a half or so ago, I came out and tasted all the wines. And my wine industry background goes to about 1997. So I'm happy with my palate. So I came out and tasted some of these wines, and one in particular, one of the Syrahs that is made by V, it's a wine I still remember. And when that happens, it's like I'm really happy because it was so impactful to me that I still think about it sometimes. And it was a Syrah from White Hog Vineyard. They're really, really good. And that's not me just bragging because I don't make the wine here, but the wines are really good.
I'm talking with Mike Miller of Winery SF on Treasure Island in the San Francisco Bay. Mike told me he also had an urban winery in Novato, so I asked him to fill us in on that.
Yes, myself and three friends of ours had met doing finance work, I have that also in my background. But we found ourselves spending more and more of our business time up chasing around trying to find the world's greatest Zinfandels. So we discovered Raffinelli, and I think that started us off on this track of Starry Night Winery, specializing in single vineyard designated Zinfandels and a Chardonnay from Russian River Valley and some other hand-selected varietals, Petit Syrah, Syrah.
Starry Night is still being crafted?
Starry Night is being crafted with the help of sort of our sister winery, Taft Street, up in Sebastopol.
Yeah. So your wine is being distributed?
It is. It's distributed in 20 states and fairly well represented by, in particularly Marin County and southern Sonoma County, I'd say.
No doubt a nice wine for a romantic starry night.
Absolutely. We use the sort of a knockoff of the Van Gogh image. We took the town out, put some vines in, made it bright colors, and that's been our logo image.
Big yellow stars in the blue sky?
Exactly. Yeah, very colorful. And again, no town but vines, so it's fun.
Well, we wish you continued success here, especially in your new space, and hopefully we can get some of those Sonoma and Napaites to come down here and try out the Treasure Island wines.
Yeah, that's what we need to have happen, for them to discover San Francisco's wine country here on Treasure Island. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
That's Mike Miller of the Winery SF. Their website is winery-sf.com. As he said, it's a good idea to make a reservation before heading down to Winery SF and the Winemakers Studios, featuring V, Sol Rouge, and Soto Marino wineries. They're very popular, and we enjoyed the wines we tasted there. Up next, another winery on Treasure Island as we continue on the Wine Road. Thanks for sticking around. There's plenty more to come. I'm Jeff Davis, and we are on the Wine Road in the San Francisco Bay. The Bay Bridge keeps us on the road. We swung by Treasure Island Wines next and enjoyed a tasting there. But oddly enough, co-owner and winemaker Jim Murawski was up in Glen Ellen that day, so on our way home, we met up with him there. And as Jim pointed out to me, not many people these days realize that the wine industry in this area was based in San Francisco prior to the 1906 earthquake.
That's right. What's happened is it's kind of an interesting, unique full circle of originally all those wineries before the quake were all the production and warehouses were down basically in South of Market and even Montgomery Street. After the 06 earthquake, it was moved out, and a lot of the production was pushed out up to Napa, Sonoma, and elsewhere. But now, with the advent of a lot of guys like myself and a few others in the East Bay and San Francisco, we've kind of chosen to take the winemaking back to the city, close to the market, 5 minutes from downtown San Francisco, plenty of parking. But we're doing exactly the same thing small wineries, small, medium-sized wineries are doing up in the wine country.
Yeah.
So.
You were the first one out there on Treasure Island, and you picked a really nice spot, didn't you? That was the perfect building for a winery.
We did, and the interesting thing about that was the old commissary during World War II, when it was a Navy base. So essentially it was the big kitchen to provision ships that moored on the backside of the islands. So we have over 10,000 square feet of drain floor, power, water, that were all sitting there essentially being unused when I first saw it, and it took a little bit of convincing of the city to say, hey, this is a great opportunity for an entrepreneur to make something of the old Navy base and turn it into something that's actually, producing something that's made in San Francisco. So it took about a year for us to get out the kinks and do some refurbishment, but essentially it is a very well-equipped urban winery that, frankly, a lot of people, even up here in Sonoma and Napa, are kind of jealous of all the space I have and the infrastructure I have in terms of just capabilities. We're doing now about 7,000 or 8,000 cases combined amongst myself and my few APs that I have. But we have the ability to scale up, but we're trying to keep it small and quality high, and that's really our goal there. So.
And you don't have the vineyards, you don't have the land surrounding a tasting room, you don't have a big, as you refer to it, Taj Mahal tasting room, so that keeps your costs down.
Indeed, and that's the thing. The issue is that to make, as much as that it's great to have all that kind of stuff, the reality is that we're a small boutique winery and we're trying to focus on the winemaking, and that's what it comes down to. And we have a very loyal customer base that knows that, hey, you don't need to go up to Napa and Sonoma if you want to just get out of town. We're 5 minutes from downtown San Francisco, 10-15 minutes from Oakland and East Bay, and you're going to meet the winemakers on the weekends where you're going to see what's going on. And even during the harvest period, because we have this open kitchen kind of approach to our winemaking they will see production going on if so happens that we're bringing in fruit that day, and that's a big plus for us. So.
Yeah, it's right there. You can see off the tasting room, the full production facility, and you say you'll answer questions and you can talk about what's going on there.
That's right, and even when we're not in harvest periods, there was just about 3 or 4 weeks ago I was doing some barrel samplings for a bottling of Pinot that I was going to do, and I decided, well, I'll just bring over some customers and say, hey, what do you think of these barrels, and showing them that. Taking some of the mystique out of the winemaking process and showing them that, we really care about what we're doing. So, and it's again, small, hands-on, artisanal kind of winemaking at its best, and also a throwback to way it used to be many years ago when it was still developing up in Napa and Sonoma. So.
You have the fermentation tanks there, you have the barrels there, your grapes come in there, and because of where you're located, you don't have to worry about too much cooling because you have a built-in cooling system there.
Exactly right. We're surrounded by a great refrigerator called San Francisco Bay. I have fans that pump in night air depending on the ambient temperature outside. So the facility stays between 55, 65 all year round, and also the humidity is high, which the barrels love because we're surrounded by the bay. One of the interesting problems we've discovered being out there is during secondary fermentation for reds, because it's so cool and cold and damp out there during the late fall, early winter, that we've had to build a warm room to warm up the things. So
it's slowing down the process.
It's because it's so damp and cold, but that's a problem we can deal with.
The grapes you source are organic or biodynamic. Where do you get those from?
I'm personally, my grapes typically coming from Sonoma, Sonoma coasts, Bennett Valley, Russian River. I'm branching out a little bit. I don't know if you had the cab. The cabs comes up from northern Alexander Valley at the new AVA called Pine Mountain. It's up there it's up at 2,700 feet. Beautiful stuff. There's only about 6 or 7 growers up there that do really beautiful stuff, and typical Mayacamas range, big, hillside cabs. I'm just looking at, by the way, I just looked at a vineyard, a new Pinot vineyard in Caneros in Napa. That'll be my first venture into Napa. But anyway, so whites typically I'm looking at foothills, Sierra foothills, Rhone whites. I like Viogniers, Rissons. I'm looking at some bringing fruit from Monterey as well. So, but I would just say that was a foothill, Sonoma, and then a little bit of Monterey is really what I do. A couple other guys are bringing in Napa fruit, and they're bringing in Sonoma, Lake County. Oh, and then of course Lake County. I forgot my Sauvignon Blanc from Lake County. So, doing a classic kind of Lake County Sauvignon Blanc.
It's all the regions that all the big boys up here in Napa and Sonoma source from.
We're no different. We just, again, I don't want to. I'm not into the owning of vineyards. It's hard enough, but we love working with vineyard owners and growers that are really committed to doing some really good stuff and really committed to sustainable, biodynamic. If they can be organic or going organic, we'd like working with vineyard owners like that. So we're picking and choosing from the best.
Today it's about 95 degrees up in Santa Rosa, but I tell you, down there it was just beautiful.
It was probably about 60, 68, 70. Yeah, it might have been 70. It's a warm day for Treasure Island. Usually it's about 65 down there, and about 3 o'clock the wind picks up, and it cools down real quickly there. And surprisingly, what people you would think it's going to be foggy there, but it's actually it's windier and sunnier than it is in San Francisco because we're in the middle of the bay. The fog kind of wraps around and goes towards San Francisco and Berkeley, and it'll be sunny and windy in 65, but it'll be foggy in San Francisco. So it's an interesting little microclimate even out there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, for the people from the city, it's a great little personal, authentic winery experience, and for those up in Napa and Sonoma, and it's a unique urban experience.
Indeed, and I think it's important that there's a bunch of us in the urban winery resurgence that are really committed to doing some really quality stuff. And I think, as I say, support your local winemaker. And it's not to say that we're, they're not doing great stuff up here, and as everybody knows, but there's guys in the urban that are doing some really nice small batch wines that are accessible and reasonably priced too. Yeah. Keeping our prices in a reasonable range, and that's important for us.
Well, as I mentioned to Mike at Winery SF, there's, as you just indicated, there's several wineries there, and you can easily spend a few hours tasting some very nice wines between the mix of you all.
Yeah, and I think that's great, and I think it's important that we all encourage each other to do really good stuff, and our qualities improves amongst the people on Treasure Island, also in Oakland and San Francisco, because we do care. We do care about what we're doing out there, and we think we're producing some good quality stuff in an urban environment that is not necessarily have to be surrounded by vineyards. So.
Yeah. And you have indoor and outdoor seating, and you've been there since 2007, so something's working.
It's working, and it's only getting better. As you probably, I don't know if I mentioned it in some of the stuff, the material I gave you, but Dusty Baker, I think you might have tried one or two of his wines there. Yeah. Dusty Baker, former Giants manager, now the Nationals, he formed a partnership with Chick Brenneman, who is the winemaker at the research facility at Davis. So those two are in my shop, and we have a couple other guys that are producing some really good wines.
Well, continued success to you.
Thank you very much.
He's Jim Murawski of Treasure Island Wines. Find their organic and biodynamic wines at tiwines.com. They also have outdoor and indoor seating. Thanks to Jim for hooking up with me during that hot day in Glen Ellen. The Fat Grape is also on Treasure Island, and as we stated earlier, you can easily spend hours on the island with some beautiful views of the city and the Bay Bridge. If you end up in the city, you can try the urban experience at Bluxome Street Winery. You'll hear about them next as On the Wine Road continues. Now, segment 3 of On the Wine Road's Urban Wineries. About 80 years after Prohibition ended, Bluxome Street Winery was the first to bring commercial winemaking back to the city. Their fully operational winery and tasting room is located at 53 Bluxome Street in the Sonoma district.
Right. Our grapes are grown in primarily in Russian River Sonoma coast. We focus on Pinot Noir and Chardonnay for the most part. And we're harvesting our grapes in the middle of the night when that's the best time to do it, when the weather's cool and the grapes are resting. And at dawn, we're racing those grapes across the Golden Gate Bridge and into our facility here. So we're no different than any other small craft winemaking establishment, winery in Napa or Sonoma. We're just doing it here in San Francisco. So the minute the grapes enter the building, we go to work on them. We're weighing them, sorting them, crushing, destemming, going into fermentation, cold soaking, all that good stuff, and ultimately bottling the wines here as well. And so it's just a different experience, but we're just doing it here in San Francisco, where I've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 million people within a 7-mile radius of this building. So we have a permission and a great opportunity to bring authentic winemaking to the denizens of San Francisco.
Yeah, good idea, good move. And like a lot of revitalization of industrial areas, you found this great spot that is not only functional, but has a lot of character.
The building here dates back to just after the 2006 earthquake, 1911, and they are now fully seismically upgraded.
Great.
But they give that patina and that feel of what was going on here 100 years ago. So these are, it's old wood truss building, exposed brick, just a wonderful facility. We've been trying to figure out if there's any winemaking here from the past. It was initially built to store Model Ts for the Ford dealership that was up on Van Ness. So when they sold a car, one of the guys would run down here, grab the car, and drive it up to Van Ness Street.
That's interesting. Well, and you add to the character by even using the old Edison filament light bulbs in here, which creates a wonderful event space, which you capture nicely on your website.
Yeah, what's nice about the space is that we can, we were talking about this before. It's a multi-purpose room. From your middle school, we can shoot hoops in the afternoon, have lunch at midday. We can make wine, and then in the evenings when we have all the equipment put away, we can have parties and celebrate our own activities here and our wines, and also folks will use it for their own uses. We have about 15 weddings a year here, believe it or not, and a lot of other things. Facebook and Google and reunions and birthdays, everything you can imagine happens in this building. But people love the space. It's again they're interacting with this whole winemaking world that we've created here.
Well, you've set yourself up so wonderfully because, as you mentioned, you can do all kinds of music events here, and you have the permits for all of that, and you've aligned yourself with a lot of these big names, the Googles, and even the mayor of San Francisco.
That's right. The mayor has been a frequent guest of ours here. He's a real fan. We were very fortunate to be named Small Business of the Year here about 6 months ago by the Chamber of Commerce of San Francisco, and also SF Made Maker of the Year a couple years ago. We met the mayor through those, and as part of that, he actually buys our wines and serves it at mayoral events, and we're also part of the gifts and the dignitary packages that visiting politicians and other leaders in business and industry receive, along with their bar of Ghirardelli chocolate and their loaf of sourdough. You get a bottle of Bluxome Street Winery along with that. So we got that going for us.
Let's talk about your wine and your winemaker. You were able to acquire Webster Marquez from the respected Anthill Farms. And boy, if you're looking for a guy to make some good Pinot Noir, you sure found the right dude.
Yeah, Webb is a wonderful guy. He's the Swiss Army knife of winemakers. He is one of these guys that really focuses in the vineyard, and he's a partner of ours as well. So he's, really running the day-to-day on the production and winemaking side, making sure we get the very best fruit from the regions that we're focusing. And again, Russian River, Sonoma Coast, with a focus on Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And he's just got, we have exactly the same viewpoint as the type of wines we want to make. And it's been a wonderful partnership, fabulous guy, and really an all-rounder. He's one of the best Pinot Noir makers in the country. Very lucky to have him.
So Pinot and Chardonnay is made here, but you have some other varietals as well that you sell on your website and through the winery here?
Just for the tasting room and for fun. With the cool thing about what we do is that, is to be able to stretch yourself and expand your activities. So we do make a Syrah. We make a Rosé Syrah, actually, in addition to a regular Syrah. We do a really nice Viognier. Very nice. In fact, Stephen Tianzer said it was Condrieu-like, which is the region in which that's the mother's location for Viognier.
I'm talking with Matt Reedy of Bluxome Street Winery in San Francisco. And if you have an interest in history, you'll get a kick out of the place because they have all kinds of historical content on the city, photos, postcards, and they have that old movie of traveling down Market Street just days before the earthquake on a constant video feed.
Being 4 generations here in this area, and really celebrating and having a great love of the history here and how it intertwines with the greater history of San Francisco with the smaller history of the winemaking that went on here. But everything from when we had the repeal of Prohibition, we celebrate that for obvious reasons.
And what do you call it?
Well, actually, that one's just called the Repeal Party. Okay. And that's a wine dinner that we have here. And then the first week of May, the first Saturday of May, we have a big block party. We close off the entire street. We have 4 or 5 live bands. We have, again, a community of the food truck gourmet nation here. And we get about 2,000 people to this thing. Just shut down the street. But we don't call it block party. We call it road closure. And again, the mayor comes and he sees this and he goes, "You guys are crazy, and it's just you're having too much fun." And he said, "I got to figure out how to do this for guys that need parties outside because we're running out of space in the city." So.
And you're Bluxome AT&T Park, so you can come here before or after the ball game.
That's right. We have we're about 2 blocks from the park, which is wonderful because we get good traffic before and after. It's easy to get to. We're 4 blocks from Moscone Center, a couple blocks from the ballpark. We're 1 block off of Highway 80 and 280, so it's very easy to get here. And unlike most places in San Francisco, we actually have parking out front. Most days we have available metered parking.
And free meters now on Sunday.
Oh yeah, free metered parking. Can't beat it.
Free parking on Sundays at Bluxome Street, and always free parking at Treasure Island Wines and Winery SF, V, Soto Marino, and Sol Rouge Wineries on Treasure Island. You'll find these wineries and tasting rooms have their own unique personalities. And I should point out that Oakland and surrounding communities also have wineries and tasting rooms. The next time you're visiting the Bay Area, consider wine tasting at the Urban Wineries. Thanks for listening to this podcast of On the Wine Road. I'm Jeff Davis.